Welcome to An Author Dissects a Narrative with your host, Husna Haze. In this captivating series, we will unravel the intricate tapestries of your favorite movies, TV shows, games, books, and beyond. Prepare to embark on a journey of analysis and exploration as we uncover the hidden gems and profound themes within these beloved narratives. Remember to show your support by hitting the like button and subscribing for a regular dose of insightful content. Let's delve into the realms of storytelling together. Let's check out the TV stats. This is Season 2 of House of the Dragon based on George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. It's 8 episodes. Ryan Condal is one of the producers and writers, and it is produced by HBO. So we're going to be reviewing House of the Dragon Season 2. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I have read the books. I remember somebody from my high school actually lent me the book and I fell in love with it. It was a lot to get through. I'm not even going to lie, it was a lot of pages. It's very complex. Sometimes it went on for a bit, but it was very vivid world. It was very well written and everything a writer could learn from in terms of technique and appropriate styles of world building. Now, I've watched Game of Thrones, all their seasons, and it was a disappointment at the end. I have my qualms with that, and I've also watched season 1 of House of the Dragon, so I'm very caught up. I wouldn't say that I'm a die-hard Game of Thrones fan, but I am a fan. I'm an admirer of the work and the complexities that went into building these characters. Now, season 2 has 8 episodes, and we open up with, basically seeing where we left off, because, we go to Winterfell, we see Jacaerys there with Cragen Stark, and they go to the wall and they talk about old king and good Queen Alysanne. We see Aegon more, and we see Helena more, and we see their kind of a bit of their family dynamic. We see Alicent banging, the only way I could put it, Criston Cole, or as people love to call him, Crispin, because he's crispy. We see him getting to work on the Dowager Queen Alicent Hightower, and I have to say that I just can't. I was rooting for Alicent. I've been not a staunch supporter of Alicent. As I like to say, Game of Thrones is about choosing your favorite war criminal and being alright with it. It's not a story about right and wrong, good and bad, black and white. It's about the complexities of a cutthroat world and characters having ambition and drive and what they're willing to do to attain their goals. So it's a very complex world, and I feel like if I was to go into the characters, that would be its own separate video, and it'll be worth a character analysis for these complex characters to understand them a bit better. But I have to say that this episode was a letdown in the sense that I feel like the production and the writers and the directors behind House of the Dragon really lean towards Team Black. And when it comes to bringing some things in the events of the book that happened, which paint Team Black in, not a very good light, I feel like they tamed what happened to poor Jaehaerys and Helena and, Jaehaera. I feel like they tamed that because they want the audience to lean towards supporting Rhaenyra, even though she has her problems and her issues. And I didn't like that, because I didn't like what happened to Helena in the books, because it was just terrible. But it painted, Rhaenyra and her faction in bad light, because what they did was bad. So I feel like they did that just to keep people leaning towards Rhaenyra and her faction, and I feel like that did a disservice to the complexities and the cutthroatness of the world of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. I feel like that was a disservice. But it was still very much gut-wrenching. I really felt for Helena. So we're going to start off with the main part of the episode, which opened up, and obviously we were down in the north with Cregan Stark and Jaehaerys going on about getting men. They talked about good Queen Alicent, and it was very much underwhelming, I have to say, just because we already know what happens in the future with the wall and everything, so I don't think we needed to see it in that sense. But at the same time, it was very good to see, the ancestors of House Stark. I know House Stark is a very popular house in Game of Thrones, and it's just great to see that they had all these principles that Robb Stark happened to forget and got at the twins, a better way to put it. So it's we've seen what happens when a Stark doesn't follow their oaths and their vows. Hello, Lyanna Stark. She didn't follow her vows when it came to being promised to Robert. She ran off with Rhaegar. So, seeing the North was great. Cregan was like, I'll send some of my greybeards. So it was just whatever. A raven comes and basically informs them that, Lucerys is gone. He got eaten up above Shipbreaker's Bay by Vhagar. We also get a return of Aemond to King's Landing, and obviously we see the plans that have gone into fortifying King's Landing for the Greens, and it's very much dragon related, and the fact that Daemon could easily get into the city is just kind of scary in that sense. And then Otto and his relationship with his grandson, and how he continued to undermine the king in front of this whole audience. And I have to say that I do have to give props to Aegon, because he was actually trying to do the right thing when he was listening to, partitions. They took the sheep from, the farmers, and he was like, I need the sheep. He was like, we'll give you back the sheep. Otto was like, no, we're at war. The dragons need food. And then there was also the part where I think it was Hugh Hammer, who was like, I need you to pay me up front. I don't want to do this 30-day invoice thing because we're at war, and I need to know that you can afford, the things that you're buying from me. And Aegon was like, yeah, we'll pay you. But at the same time, I understand where Otto was coming from, because it's we're at war. We don't have the cash flow liquidity to just be paying people up front because, it's all tied up. We're using it to build a fleet, to build the army. We need to do all this stuff. We've split up the gold. So we've sent some to the Iron Bank, and we've sent the other to the Lannisters. So that's all Easter eggs and everything. And then we see Alicent, the Dowager Queen Alicent, and she's very much... I've been rooting for Alicent, seriously, since season 1. I felt like she was very much manipulated by her father. she was very much in over her head. She didn't understand what was going on, but when she did, I feel like she should have told Rhaenyra that her dad was sending her to Rhaenyra's dad to comfort him. I feel like in some level she knew what her dad was doing, and at the same time she was just like, what could she do? She's her father's property in this world. She's, you know, the daughter of a second son. You know, maybe she didn't have ambitions to become queen, but at the same time, like, she kind of knew on a level what was going on. So we can feel sorry for her in that sense, but at the same time, it's like she really didn't have any autonomy over her life and the choices made for her by her father, because that is what it is to be a woman in this world, you know. And then, so I'm just popping around left, right, and center because there's just so many things I want to talk about, and I'm getting confused, and I want to make this video as quick as possible. I don't want to be here for an hour, but at the same time, it's all very complex. So we see Alicent with Criston Cole, as, you know, people love to call him Crispin Cole because he's very crispy. We see him doing the very same thing that he turned on Rhaenyra for doing. You know, he broke his vows. Rhaenyra didn't choose him. He felt like, you know, she ruined him. And it's like, my man, you have autonomy over your choices. We get it. You know, they're in a position of power. It might be hard to say no to them, but at the same time, you cannot, you know, do the same thing that made you fall out with the woman that you apparently loved, which is aka Rhaenyra. And you're out here calling her all sorts of escorts. That's the only way I can put it, because YouTube will get very angry on that front if I use the WHORE word. Maybe I can spell it out. So yeah, we see him and Alicent engaging in an affair, I guess. I don't know how long this has been going on for. We can only assume. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that it's only happening after Viserys has kicked rocks. So, you know, we see that, and then we see Helaena and Aegon interact for the first, well, not the first time, but we see them interact for the first time in the episode where he comes to get his son and, you know, take him to the small council meeting where he wants to, you know, get him prepared for what is to come. And I have to say, like, that was very sweet on the front of maybe he's a better father than his father was to him. I'd like to think that he is. And then second of all, it was also very interesting to see the dynamic between Aegon and Helaena, because she said she was afraid and he was like, don't worry about it, you know, we've got Vega, we've got dragons, we're protected, we're fortified, you're gonna be fine. And then, you know, Helaena is like, no, I'm afraid of the rats. And obviously we see this as an Easter egg for the rat catchers who later on in the episode come in. Now, all I have to say is I'm a bit frustrated about the way that they're writing Helaena in the sense that we know she's a dreamer, okay? We know that dreamers are commonplace in Targaryen family. Like, you know, they're commonplace in the Targaryen family. So it's like nobody, not even Viserys, will like keep an eye on what she's saying. It's like, okay, do you not remember when she said there's a beast beneath the boards? Alicent, and, you know, Meleys and Rhaenys burst through the boards. It's like, I'm just not understanding how nobody's clocking this and they're just writing her off as being weird. I feel like Helaena is a very complex and innocent character, but at the same time, I feel like she needs to have some autonomy in the decisions that she's making. Like, if she can see these dreams, if she knows what is coming, if she is aware of it and maybe can't articulate it in words to the people around her, maybe she can make some choices, you know, can take some initiative of her life and just do something, you know, instead of being a bystander. Do you know what I mean? It's just very annoying in that sense, because she doesn't have any agency at the moment. So we see all of that. Aegon is like, oh, she's weird. The queen is weird. And obviously he goes off. The small council meeting, Otto is writing letters. And I'm just like, Otto, we get it. You're a diplomat. You want to write letters. It's like letters are not going to do anything for you. The moment that you took the throne from Rhaenyra, because that's exactly what it is. He took the throne. The moment that you took the throne from Rhaenyra and forgot what Viserys wanted is the moment you declared war, okay? It was already going to be war when it came to Rhaenyra's succession, because she obviously has bastards in her children, the Strongs, and it's like there was always going to be a succession crisis when it came to Rhaenyra's line. If it wasn't going to be with her children, her sons, it would have been later on with her descendants, because she went on to have children with Daemon, and there are boys. So there was always going to be a succession crisis when it came to Rhaenyra's line, and Aegon was a contender for that. But if we remove Aegon from the picture, it was going to be between Rhaenyra and her own children and descendants. So when Otto decided to take the throne, which is by rights, according to Westerosi law, Aegon's, he declared war. It was going to be war, and the instant that Aemond went and, you know, made a snack out of his nephew, Lucerys, over Shipbreaker's Bay, it was over. It was game over. We see Rhaenyra grieve. We see her shirk her duties, as Daemon would put it, and I have to say that Daemon, I don't know. I don't like Daemon. I'm sorry. I don't like Daemon. I don't like Rhaenyra. I don't like how the faction, the black faction, is going about their business. And that's just because they're creating succession crises, and also Rhaenys. I don't know how Rhaenys can take all this stuff happening to her children, to her grandchildren, to have even her potentially Corlys have, you know, Adam and Alan of Hall, and her just to be taking this. Like, I just don't understand that. I don't know if she's so bitter. I don't know. I just don't know why the Valerians are holding on to, you know, Rhaenyra. It's just not working, because if you feel it, this is actually something that I also have a problem with, but we'll get back to that. I want you to hold that thought. So anyway, that's all going on. So we get dropped in and we see what's happened, basically the aftermath of, you know, the season 1 finale. We see Aemond gets a seat on the council. We see that Aegon is very much trusting in Aemond. And we also see Otto Hightower planting seeds, saying to Aemond that, you know what, Aegon is king right now, but it could be you. So we see Otto Hightower plotting. I don't know if Aemond is gonna do that, usurp his brother, but we have seen that they deviate from what was in the books. And as a writer, I understand that, you know, sometimes readers and the audience get really annoyed when stuff is not translated directly from the book, the pages that the author wrote, and then put on screen exactly the way that it was in the books. But sometimes things have to be cut out to make sense on the medium that it's going on. So maybe like in the books it made sense, but on screen it wouldn't translate very well. And maybe sometimes, you know, things just need to be changed. You have to understand, like, when a book is written, when you get it in your hands, it went through many metamorphoses to get into your hands. It was many different versions before it was that final version. So in that sense, I understand how the audience can be a bit upset about that, but at the same time, I understand it from a writer's perspective. So Otto is being Otto, and he's annoying. I can't wait for him to be gone. And then we see, the relationship between Aegon and, some of his courtiers, and it's all very well. We see Rhaenyra return. We see her and Daemon, get into it. There's a council meeting, and she's like, I want Aemond. That's the only thing she says, and walks off. And also before that, we see when Jacaerys returns and he cries, his brother is gone. So, we see Mysaria, she's a stowaway, and then, Daemon is very upset with her and Rhaenys, like, you should have just burned them all. And it's like, I just can't stand Daemon. It's like, I just can't stand him, and I don't know what his angle is. I think he's always wanted the Iron Throne, and he's always wanted his brother's acceptance. So I think he's very much feels abandoned by his brother, and he feels very protective over his family, and he feels very shirked that his brother always chose Otto Hightower over him in a certain way, and that's where the disdain comes in for Otto Hightower and the Greens, because he feels like Viserys always favored them, when in reality Viserys always favored his brother and his daughter. So, he gets plotting and planning, he gets blood and cheese, he sneaks into King's Landing, and he's like, I need Aemond Targaryen's head. He's not very hard to miss. He's got one eye and silver hair. And then, the tragedy strikes. Little Jacaerys gets skewered in his bed. They go into the king's apartments. Well, the queen's apartments. They go into the royal family's apartments, and basically it was so easy for them to walk past Aegon, to walk past so many. I don't understand how the king's guard is not guarding. Like, who is supposed to be protecting Helaena? Who was supposed to be protecting Helaena? Who was supposed to be protecting the royal family apartments? Oh well, it was Criston. He was busy banging Alicent. Now, Alicent, I just don't know what it is with Alicent and having Rhaenyra's leftovers. It's not a good look, Alicent. It's like the same thing you condemned Rhaenyra for, you're doing. And I guarantee you she's probably writing it off in her mind as Viserys is gone. I'm not tied to anybody anymore. I'm not breaking any rules. It's like, I feel like Criston is going to turn on Alicent. I'm sorry. The same thing he's doing with Alicent, he did with Rhaenyra and turned on Rhaenyra. And I feel like he always loved Rhaenyra and still loves Rhaenyra, and he's very bitter about it. I mean, how do you explain all of this stuff happening? And it's like, Alicent, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Her and Otto have a sit-down conversation where she's like, you need to back off. When the novelty wears off with Aegon, you and I will rule. But if you keep cutting me off at the knees, my sons will not listen to me. And it's like, Alicent, I just can't get into Alicent right now. She's annoying me, and it's annoying me because I really was rooting for Alicent. Okay? I was rooting for Alicent. She didn't have any choice in the situation that she was put into because she's her father's daughter. She has no say in who she marries, okay? But at the same time, she must have known that her father was sending her to the king for a certain reason. Now, at the same time, I'm like, Alicent, I'm rooting for you, but you're out here doing things to shoot yourself in the foot. Because not only that, Larys is out here replacing all your maids. He's, taking favors from you, and you're just letting him roam around. Like, he is a literal snake. He's somebody you need to keep an eye on. Anyway, we see Corlys, and I think it was Adam, or Alan. I don't know who it was. It was one of those, of Hall. And we see him now start to consider about heirs to his house. And I'm like, Corlys was so blinded by power and ambition that he sacrificed his daughter and his son. And what did he get in return for it? 2 granddaughters. House Velaryon never survives from supporting Rhaenyra. Their name survives, their house survives, but I'm saying politically and wealth-wise, they never are as powerful as they were before the dance, before they tied themselves to Rhaenyra. It's insane. And Vernice, I just don't understand why she's supporting Rhaenyra, who first of all made a fool and a mockery out of her son. And not only that, she basically, from what she was denied, Rhaenyra got. And not only that, but Lena, and then her marrying Daemon, doing the exact same thing that she condemned Alicent for. Like, oh, my mother had just passed away and you were already in my father's bed. And it's like, Rhaenyra, you've done the same exact thing to Lena Valerian. She just passed and you're already in your uncle's bed on the funeral day. So I don't have any love for Team Black. I don't have any love for the faction of Team Black. I'm sorry, I just don't. And I was rooting for Faction Green, but now I'm not, because they're annoying me as well. To be honest with you, my heart is just with Helaena. Poor Helaena. She suffered so much, and just to see her try to bargain for her child's life and fail, to see her run to her mother in her time of need and her mother be banging Crispin Cole, it's like, even when you need your mom, Helaena, she's busy living up her 20s because she feels like she was robbed and locked in a tower to have children. And it's like, Alicent, you kind of put yourself in that situation. And not only that, but Rhaenyra's leftovers. Really, Alicent? You know this man is not stable. You know he turned on Rhaenyra because he told her, the B word and blamed her for his failed vows, and he's doing it again. It's like, you think this is gonna end well? Anyway, so the episode was very much sad and tame. If it hadn't been for little Jaehaerys, getting it at the end of the episode, it would have been like a very lukewarm episode, a very boring episode. But not only that, I think Helaena was just very much resigned to the situation, and I think she kind of disassociated from what happened to her son, because when she ran to Alicent and Alicent was like, what's going on? She was like, they killed the boy. So I think she just disassociated with the whole situation, and I'm just like, wow. So is Maelor not a thing? We haven't seen a Maelor, and yeah, we haven't seen a Maelor. I don't know. Like I said, Game of Thrones is about choosing your favorite war criminal and being alright with it. And right now, none of them are my favorite war criminals at all. In fact, I'm just very much disappointed in the direction that they chose to take this episode, because they did it to pander to the Black faction. I'm just gonna say it. They did it to pander to Rhaenyra Targaryen's faction. They don't want the audience to turn against Rhaenyra. They don't. So they're gonna make it look like, oh, Daemon went on, to order this, and, it didn't go as planned because obviously, you sent amateurs, and he already paid them, and they did the exact opposite of what he wanted, but still it had the desired effect, a son for a son. Now, I have to say, like, in the next promo, they showed that Rhaenyra was like, you've hurt my choice. I trusted Daemon. And it's like, Rhaenyra, do you not remember landing and being in that council meeting and being like, I want Aemon Targaryen's head? It's like, you don't remember putting a hit out on your brother, and you're surprised it went wrong. You're surprised it went wrong, and now you want to blame Daemon for it going wrong, when it is your fault that you put the hit out on him, that you sent these amateurs. You basically greenlit it. Rhaenyra. You can't be upset that it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go. You can't be upset. So that just really annoys me that they like to paint Rhaenyra as this Daenerys 2.0, and I have to say that it's very annoying as somebody who's read the books, as somebody who's a writer who writes characters and stories and stuff like that. It's just very annoying that they're taking the agency out of Rhaenyra in a sense that they want to paint her as this pretty princess who has been robbed of her birthright and has been wronged. And it's like, girl, she's been robbed of her birthright, but the law is the law. And not only that, but she has to take accountability for some of the decisions and the mistakes that she's made. It's like, in what realm do you expect it to be alright that you're parading bastards before the Iron Throne? It's like, somebody take accountability for this girl, because she's annoying the hell out of me, and she's not taking accountability for any of the mistakes that she's made, for any of the decisions that she's made that have led her to this point. It is not her fault. It is not her fault. I repeat, it is not Rhaenyra's fault that her father named her heir. It is not Rhaenyra's fault that Otto Hightower is a reaching, scheming snake and stole her throne. Yes, she is named heir, and yes, he did steal her throne. I'm not denying any of that. I'm saying Rhaenyra has to take responsibility and accountability for the mistakes and the decisions that she's made to weaken her claim. To weaken her claim. I say that again. To weaken her claim. Accountability, guys. Accountability. And it's something that both factions and both supporters of each faction seem to forget. I find myself, when I'm in this fandom, when I'm in this realm of Game of Thrones, people like to forget a lot of things. And it's like, Rhaenyra weakened her claim. She weakened her claim. She hasn't taken accountability for that. She hasn't acknowledged any of that. And she seems to think that just because she's a dragon, was named heir, that she deserves it. And it's like, girl, you have to take accountability for the mistakes and the decisions that you've made to weaken your claim. You have to understand that just because you ride a giant lizard that breathes fire, that you are not entitled to everything. Case in point, Targaryens are very politically tone deaf to the realm, the people they rule over, and they're very much Valyrian supremacists, if I'm saying that right. They're very much Valyrian pure-blooded supremacists, in the sense that they're better than everybody else. And it's like, this is why their dynasty failed as soon as their dragons were no longer a factor, because they could not read a political room. If Rhaenyra read a political room, she would have ensured that some way or another she had Valyrian children, that she had Corlys Valerian's children, grandchildren, I mean. She should have ensured that, but she didn't. She should have ensured that if she had a lover, that he at least passed for a Valerian, but she didn't. She should have made moves to secure herself politically by having ladies' maids, by doing a tour, by betrothing her sons to different houses. She couldn't do that because she shot herself in the foot by having, what did I say? Bastards. So she had to tie House Valerian to her again, because there was no way Corlys Valerian was going to support Rhaenyra putting her bastards before his trueborn grandchildren or family. So she had to tie him to her by betrothing her sons to his trueborn granddaughters. So we're at the end of our deconstructed universe, taking apart season 2 of House of the Dragon, episode 1. Now, if you want to check out some of my books, make sure that you do. Vertigo Honor Bound by Blood is a science fiction book that is the first installment in the Vertigo universe. Check it out.